Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, friends, uh, we were studying this sutta, Mahāparinibbānasutta. We are still in somewhere here. Do you see the scroll bar? We are in somewhere here in the sutta. There are much more to study. Okay. Do you remember the last week's discussion?
Nabudaya.
Yes.
Bhante, yes, yes. So those 6 principles,
Uh-huh.
the qualities I remember, right? Bhante, the bodily kindness,
Yes.
verbal kindness, mental kindness.
Yes. Very good. And 3 more.
Yeah. And then sharing things like generosity, sharing precepts, and sharing views.
Yes. Sharing precepts. Um, oh, yes, yes. Okay. And there were, how many there were all the points?
Bhante, there were 6.
6 points. And at the end, what Buddha said after giving that 6 points?
He said that this is to the last sharing of the views, that is for complete ending of suffering,
Yes.
spiritual awakening, for promoting growth, something like that, Bante.
Yeah, correct. And also these are having a
Yeah.
equal benefits.
Yes.
Expect growth, not decline.
Mhm.
Bodily, verbal, and mental kindness, and the generosity, virtue, and the view. Um, is this the place? Oh yes, this is the place we stopped last week. We will continue from this part. And while staying there at the Vulture's Peak, the Buddha often gave this Dhamma talk to the mendicants. Most of the time while Buddha was living with the monks, he was giving these advices. Here there is kind of a conclusion of the discussions that he was doing. He said, such is ethics, such is immersion, such is wisdom. So his teachings are focused into these 3 categories. He taught about the ethics. He taught about immersion. What is immersion? Yeah, samadhi, concentration. And what was the last one? The wisdom. He was teaching about the wisdom, about the samadhi, about the ethics. When immersion, samadhi, is imbued with ethics, it's very fruitful and beneficial. Based on the ethics, if a person were to develop meditations, when their mind is centered, very beneficial and very fruitful. Buddha says that. Sila paribhavito samadhi mahapalo hoti mahanisanso. Based on the ethics, if a person were to develop mindfulness, meditations, concentration, that's very fruitful and beneficial. When you start your meditation, do you go to a ethical conduct? Do you base your practice on the virtue? What is the virtue that you are observing your day-to-day life? Yeah, yes. Let's say you observe 5 precepts, then you meditate. Then it's very fruitful and beneficial. That's what this teaching means. Let's say, for an example, if a person is based their verbal actions and their bodily actions on the 5 precepts, when they start to meditate, that is very fruitful, beneficial. Their meditation will be more successful. When wisdom is imbued with immersion, it is very fruitful and beneficial. Samadhi paribhavita panya mahapala hoti mahanisansa. That means when the mind is concentrated well, with the support of that concentrated mind, that still mind, they start to meditate on the wisdom. They start to see the impermanence. So that is very fruitful and beneficial. When the mind is imbued with wisdom, it is rightly freed from defilements. When a person develops that wisdom correctly, they will be freed from all the defilements, all the negative mental states, such as Buddha says here, defilements of sensuality, desire to be reborn, and ignorance. These are said to be the deep-rooted defilements in our consciousness. Kamasava, bhavasava, avijjhasava. 3 asavas. Kamasava means defilements related to the sensuality, which means there are sense pleasures, sense objects for the senses. There is those defilements based on those sensuality that keep bringing us pain and suffering. By developing wisdom, they eradicate, they uproot all these kamasavas, defilements of sensuality. Desire to be reborn. There is a hard, very difficult to uproot defilement in the consciousness that we are having a desire to be reborn over and over again. For what reason? To enjoy just the pleasures of the senses. So that's why there is desire in us to reborn over and over again. But this rebirth is not just going by the happy places, but this rebirth is taking us to the bad destinations also. Because of that desire to be reborn, the person is going everywhere in the samsara. Only one place people or the beings never been. What is that place? Yes, the Nibbana. The Nibbana is the place where no one visited yet, apart from the Buddha and the other practitioners who became enlightened. The rest of the other beings are reborn over and over again. Probably we desire to be reborn in the human life again. Do you like to come back to human life? Where do you like to reborn over and over again? Let's say in the heavenly realms. But here in Buddhism, the heavenly realms are also not permanent. If we were to listen to the Dhamma there, we would be able to lead our life to a better place next life. But if that misses, if we want, then we can easily be reborn in the lower realms, because there are a lot of like heavenly beings who reborn in the bad places after ending their good karma. There's a problem that when we only consume our good karma that we did somewhere, but if we don't do something for the future, then our good karmas will be ended. Then this person is fall down into the other like lower realms. So it's very important to lead us to a good place through the good actions. And here it says that there is a desire to be reborn. We have that. We have that desire to be reborn. Apart from awakening, because it said that when a person is enlightened, awakened, that person's consciousness doesn't take any routing, like it doesn't go to any place like to establish. It's just blows out with the final awakening, like final nibbana, the enlightenment. It doesn't go anywhere. It just blows out. It doesn't take a bodily form or anything like in a place to be reborn. Because in the Brahmajala Sutta, Buddha said, after the nibbana, parinibbāna, after the final extinguishment, humans or the devas or whoever in this world won't be able to see the Buddha in his physical appearance. No one will be able to see the Buddha, because sometimes people say Buddha is in the heaven watching at us. Yeah, I remember some people I met, they shared with me, Buddha is in the somewhere in some like still is in some another place, city of Nibbana or somewhere. Yeah, there are such things people say. But Buddha said in the Brahmajala Sutta, no one would be able to see the Buddha again after he entered to the enlightenment. But for the other beings, because of the asavas, kamasava, bhavasava, avijjasava, these beings are having the sensuality, desire to be reborn, and ignorance. The ignorance comes the third reason why, because ignorance is the most powerful here. In Buddhism, it is seen as the ignorance is the root cause for the rebirth, for the suffering, for the sensuality. A place where it is very difficult to understand how the sensuality is a defilement. Does the sense pleasures brings us happiness? Does the sense pleasures means, first hold on, sense pleasures means the enjoyment of the senses by seeing sights, hearing sounds, smells, taste, touch. What sort of things do we like to take through our senses? Do we like to enjoy with ugly things, like the ugly sense objects? No, something that is endearing, bringing us lust, bringing us craving, bringing us pleasant feelings. That's what we normally like to enjoy in our senses. And does that have a kind of a happy feeling? What do you think? Does it have a happy feeling? Yes. But how did the Buddha taught about the sense pleasures? How taught us to see the danger, drawbacks. There is one more special thing Buddha said about sensual pleasures. When it comes to the enjoyment, gratification, did he said there is a law like big gratification and lots less suffering, or the less suffering, lot of gratification? What did he say? I said the same thing. Less suffering, more gratification, or the more suffering, less gratification. Big gratification. What did he taught in the suttas? How have you learned? about the gratification of the stimulation of the senses? Does it has a huge pleasure or a less pleasure? Yeah, it
Suffering.
has. Yes. Oh, yeah.
More suffering and less gratification, Bhante.
Yes. Yes. Buddha taught more suffering, less gratification, sense pleasures. But how do we perceive? What is our perceptions to the sense pleasures? Yeah, we have a kind of an idea that
Yeah,
the sense
passing.
pleasures, bring more happiness but less suffering. That's why our mind, because of not understanding this reality, mind is always keep attached into the sensuality and stays in the mind, in the bottom of the heart as a defilement that keep arising over and over again as sense desire. You know asava here calm asava. For the asava, oozing sensual. You see oozing sensual desire, effluent of sensual pleasure. Calm asava is said to be, asava means something like deeply rooted in the heart for a long time. The simile is like a fermented liquid, like alcohol or something, like fermented for a long time. You know, when people make the intoxicating drinks and drugs, they keep this for a long time to ferment, right? Is this the correct word? Fermentation. So they keep it for a long time, and what happens is that there is a strong like split of that liquid. This just the same way Buddha says to the asavas, whether it is sensuality asava, desire to be reborn asava, or ignorance, whatever the asava is stays in the mind, is a long gone defilement, not just in one life. We would think, oh, this is only come to us as a desire to enjoy the sense pleasures in the world only in this life. But no, it is a kind of a split of our rebirth, like samsara. What is the split of samsara? Like the fermentation of the samsara is that the mind is wandered in every rebirth and going everywhere and collected kamasava, bhavasava, avijjasava. You know, we don't like to, we still like to bring up the sense desire to the senses. But later we have like tiredness. You know, let's say we sit down to meditate, our mind is wandering for sense pleasures. Very hard to let go. It's said that because of the same sensuality, the one creates the desire to be reborn. Sometimes when people are very sad about the sense pleasures, that they don't get what they want, they think, okay, not in this life. Maybe in the next life, I will be in another place enjoying sense pleasures. Finding a solution, escape, or kind of a release is still with the attachment to the sense pleasures. Desire to be reborn. And the ignorance means that one doesn't see this. Without teaching of the Buddha, we won't see this. Because it's said to be the Buddha understood clearly about the pleasure of the senses. And then he taught, oh, it has a very less gratification, but much more suffering because of the sense pleasures. Beings are, Buddha say, main reason for the war is the sense pleasure. Fights, clashes, like struggles, all of these are for the sense pleasures. Just to after the end of the war, one expect to see a sight. Listen to a sound, smell, taste, and touch. So these are in the consciousness, as Asavas, Buddha says, is because of the ignorance, reborn, and sensuality. I remember one day after giving the loving kindness meditation, one of my friend asked, why there is evil in the world. Why? Ignorance. Yes, ignorance. Do we need to fight if we normally see the true nature of these sense pleasures? We won't go and steal from others, or that we don't do like harming. We don't harm other beings. Now, Buddha said, in another way, you can say the final goal of these teachings and also final goal of these practices are to eradicate these three sensual defilements of sensuality, desire to be reborn, and ignorance, to abandon karma, asura, bhavasava, vidhyasava. For that, what one need to do is to develop wisdom. With the wisdom one sees this. That's why it is said, it is rightly freed from defilements when the wisdom was developed. To develop the wisdom, one needs to concentrate their mind. So it's said that to concentrate the mind, one needs to develop the ethics. When immersion is imbued with ethics, it is very fruitful and beneficial. If we were to meditate based on the virtue, like 8 precepts or 5 precepts or whatever kind of the virtue, when that person meditates, that person's mind will be easily concentrated. When the mind is concentrated, they develop the wisdom based on the concentration. And when they develop concentration and the wisdom, that wisdom supports to eradicate defilements, sensuality, desire to be reborn, and ignorance. That's why it is said that always Buddha was giving these instructions, such is ethics, such is immersion, such is wisdom. He was teaching to develop the virtue, develop the concentration, samadhi, develop the wisdom. Okay. Let's say that we don't like these defilements in our heart. We don't like to carry all those things. But can we, with that expectation, can we easily let go all of these things? Like, can we just ask ourselves, no, I don't need this desire. I don't need to desire to be reborn. Please stop this rebirth. No.
No, Bante.
No, there is no way like with our commands that we can stop this and purify our consciousness. When it comes to the consciousness also, Buddha says that Buddha didn't say the where it was started in this rebirth, where the consciousness started, how we were born, like how the consciousness started to wander in this rebirth. But he says, in the beginning of the mind, beginning of the consciousness, it's very luminous, pure, it's very bright. But because of the external, like the foreign defilements, the mind became impure. Here, foreign defilements means sensuality, desire to be reborn. Those were added to the consciousness later. Ignorance was added to the consciousness, like the defilements was added to the consciousness. In Anguttara Nikaya, you can find that teaching. It doesn't mean that we were enlightened when it was started. If you are doubting, I can share it. I can share that one with you now. Let's see. Pabhasara, Pabhasaramidam, Pabhasaramidam bhikkhave. This mind mendicants is radiant. That's the correct word for the pabhasara. Pabhasara midam bhikkave chittang. But it is corrupted by passing corruptions. Passing corruption can include all the defilements. An unlearned ordinary person doesn't truly understand this. You see, without a Buddha, because of the ignorance, one won't realize this. An unlearned ordinary person does not truly understand this. Well, here unlearned means like not learning about the teachings or the wisdom or something, like the teachings. But we might be learned about everything in the world. Everything about this earth, everything about the solar system, everything about the other people and the animals and whoever around us. We might have that learning, but we couldn't learn about our inner life, our consciousness correctly. An unlearned ordinary person does not truly understand this. So I say that the unlearned ordinary person has no development of the mind. So for the ordinary person, Buddha says there's no development of the mind. Here the development of the mind means those ethical conduct, that immersion, that wisdom for the ordinary person. But this mind is mendicant, is radiant. This mind mendicant is radiant and it is freed from passing corruption. This is the nature of the Buddha's life, the enlightened being. He says, oh, this mind is freed from that corruptions. So Buddha removed all those corruptions. A learned, noble disciple truly understands this. So with the practice, this, let's say the noble disciple here means that enlightened person, that person understands truly. So as I say, that learned, noble disciple has development of the mind. So friends, when the Buddha had stayed in Rajagaha as long as he pleased, he addressed Venerable Ananda. Venerable Ananda means the Buddha's attendant, Bhante. And Buddha asked him, come, Ananda, let's go to the Ambalattika. Ambalattika. Yes, sir, Bhante Ananda replied. Then the Buddha, together with the large Sangha of mendicants, arrived at Ambalattika. Buddha went with lot of Bhantes to the Ambalattika, the city, where he stayed in the royal rest house. So there was a rest house made by king, and while staying there, too, he often gave this Dhamma talk to the mendicants. Why? Because these are the final days Buddha is going to spend with the Bhantes and in the world together with the humans and devas. So he was always try his best to keep teaching the core of the teachings, core of the Buddha's teachings, Dhamma. He says, again, such is ethics, such is immersion, such is wisdom. When immersion is imbued with ethics, it's very fruitful and beneficial. When wisdom is imbued with immersion, it's very fruitful and beneficial. When the mind is imbued with wisdom, it's rightly freed from defilements. What are those? The defilements of sensuality, desire to be reborn, and ignorance. If the Buddha were to meet you, he would give you this instruction. Such is ethics, such is immersion, such is wisdom. When the Buddha had stayed in Ambalattika as long as he pleased, he addressed the Venerable Ananda. Come, Ananda, let's go to Nalanda. Do you know where is Nalanda? Yeah, Sariputta Bhante's born city, his birthplace, Nalanda. Yes, there was a university, and I think it was burnt, right? Yeah, it was burnt, and it said that the books were burning for 3 months. There were a lot of like philosophical, like the good books was burnt because of the religious invasions. Come, Ananda, let's go to Nalanda. Yes, sir, Ananda replied. Then the Buddha, together with a large sangha of mendicants, arrived at Nalanda. Now all the Bhantes are following the Buddha together to the Nalanda. Even the Sariputta Bhante's mother was living in Nalanda. She was a highly strict Brahmin lady. Her son was enlightened Bhante Sariputta, but she was not ready to give up her like attachment to her rituals, like her views. He said that while the Bhante visited the home, and the mother was at the home, and the Bhante was living in the kuti, and at night it said that the Mahabrahma came to do the respect to the Sariputta Bhante. And the mother next morning asks, "Oh, I saw there was a big light in the house. What was that light?" And then the Sariputta Bhante said, "Oh, that is Mahabrahma came to serve the Bhantes, serve the enlightened Bhante." So that Mahabrahma was this mother's religious figure that she was venerating, and he said that's Mahabrahma. And the second day there was a little small light, kind of illuminated the entire place. "What is that light, my dear son?" So Bhante said that's God Sakka. And like that, three lights like that. It's so nice story. So then it said that finally the mother also became enlightened, I think, as I remember, enlightened. And she was also living in Nalanda. Now the Buddha went to that place. Then the Buddha, together with a large sangha of mendicants, arrived at Nalanda, where he stayed in Pavarika's mango grove. There was a mango forest, and that's where Buddha stayed for the day. Okay, friends. Then next we go to Sariputta Bhante's Lion's Roar. So the Sariputta Bhante's village, and he was in that place together with the Buddha. Then the Sariputta Bhante went up to the Buddha, bowed, sat down to one side, and said to him, "Sir, I have such confidence in the Buddha." Sariputta Bhante said, "I have such confidence, a great trust and faith on the Buddha like this." There is a special quality. Before we go to this part, let's remember there is a special quality in Sariputta Bhante's life. What is the special faculty, like a spiritual faculty he had, like most powerful thing in his life that helped him to become enlightened? What is it? Foremost among? Yes, but Sariputta Bhante was foremost among wisdom. He had a greater wisdom. He said that Sariputta Bhante, yes, that statue. Yeah, the left statue. Sariputta Bhante is said to be a very wise person, only heard 2 verses from another enlightened Bhante, and he became a stream enterer. You see our wisdom, we are listening, we are studying, we are meditating, and we are talking, but still we have very less wisdom. Our wisdom needs to be more awakened. We need to reflect more and more these teachings. But the Sariputta Bhante only heard 2 verses. He became a stream enterer. He established his view on the Buddha, unwavering confidence on the Buddha. Now you see the power of the wisdom in Buddhism. For the faith, there should be wisdom. The faith is centered in the wisdom. Now he says his understanding about the Buddha. Sir, I have such a confidence in the Buddha that I believe there is no other ascetic or Brahmin, whether past, future, or present, whose direct knowledge is superior to the Buddha when it comes to awakening. He said that I don't see anyone, any ascetic, any Brahmin, any person in that moment, in that duration. I won't see anyone, even in the past, even in the future, or even in the present, whose direct knowledge is superior to the Buddha when it comes to awakening. Then the Buddha said, that's a grand and bold statement, Sariputta. You have roared a definitive, categorical lion's roar. To say such a thing, Buddha said, that is like a lion's roar. You have roared a definitive. Definitely you said, like with the definition, like definitive understanding, you said, oh, I don't see such a person than the Buddha. That's a grand and bold statement, Sariputta. You roared the definitive, categorical lion's roar, saying, I have such confidence in the Buddha that I believe there is no other ascetic or Brahmin, whether past, future, or present, whose direct knowledge is superior to the Buddha when it comes to awakening. What about all the Buddhas? What about all the perfected ones, fully awakened Buddhas who lived in the past? Have you encompassed their minds to know that? How do you know about the past, that previously born Buddhas, like they had this kind of a knowledge? How do you know that? How can you go back to the previous lives and find out about their like previous Buddhas? Now the Buddha asks this Sariputta Bhante, those Buddhas had such ethics, such qualities, or such wisdom, such meditation, or such freedom. How do you know that? So the Bhante said, no, sir. And what about all the perfected ones, the fully awakened Buddhas who will live in the future? Have you encompassed their minds to know that? How do you know about the future Buddhas is going to be born? Those Buddhas will have such ethics, such qualities, such wisdom, such meditation or freedom. So the Bhante said, no, sir. And what about me, the perfected one, the fully awakened Buddha at present? Have you encompassed my mind to know that? Did you observe my mind, Buddha's mind, to say such a thing, a definitive thing, like a lion's roar? If someone were to say like that, they can ask questions, like they can argue, they can refute, they can try to refute. Let's say that a person is saying, I don't see a person superior to the knowledge of the Buddha in this world, past, future, or present. Isn't that a point for start like an argument, a kind of a yeah, yeah, kind of a debate, yeah, for sure. Sometimes people say after doing loving kindness meditation, okay, today onwards, I don't get angry. Then sometimes other people around try to make him angry. Oh, let's see if you don't get angry. Let's see if you don't get angry. So it's something to be like debate, like arguing, like other person can ask us. How do you say such a thing? Now the same thing Buddha asks for the sake of us, for the sake of the benefit of us. Because in the later time, there can be many people who are doubting. By the time he said that we are starting doubts, and our doubts are getting more and more powerful when the times goes by. We are doubting about our lives, ourselves, and we become more and more doubt to ourselves. So because of that reason, Buddha asked this Sariputta Bhante, how do you say that? Did you see my mind? And that you said such a thing? I have such ethics, such qualities, such wisdom, meditation, such freedom. He said, no, sir. So how did he know? Now please remember, he had a great knowledge. He had a great wisdom in him. He has a great power in him to to contemplate and to know everything in the faculty of wisdom. Do you know what is wisdom means? If someone asks you what is wisdom, how do you answer? According to the Dhamma? Knowing the Four Noble Truths is one sort of wisdom. And what else? Yeah, knowing what is good and what is bad, what is wholesome, what is unwholesome. One more, like there are more. What? Definitely, yeah, that's very good. Seeing things as they are. Seeing the conditions, causes and conditions. Seeing dependent origination. All of those things are in the wisdom. And wisdom has a beautiful simile. It said that the wisdom is like a sharp tool that they use to cut. You know, what is the tool that we like, the knife that we use to cut the grass or the wheat or the rice? Like this bended like knife, sickle. It said that the person grabs the bunch of wheat from one hand and use this tool to cut all the rice or the wheat or something, the grass. Then the holding of this bunch of wheat is said to be like the attention. That was on the within those questions. That's like the attention, and this sharp tool is like the wisdom. Let's say there is this defilement in us, like let's say sensuality or something, like the defilement. So one holds that and cut using this the wisdom. One uses the understanding to cut that that defilement. Yes. Now Buddha says, what then are you doing making such a grand and bold statement, forwarding such a definitive categorical lion's roar? It is seen as a lion's roar because it's very brave and very powerful one. Sir, though I don't encompass the minds of Buddha's past, future and present, still I understand this by inference from the teaching. How did he understood that? By the inference from the teaching. Apicha me dhamman vayo vidito. Through the teachings that I understood that whether in the past, future or in the present, there won't be anyone who is superior to the Buddha's knowledge, Buddha's awakening. Through what did he understood? By the teachings. But how? Do you have that question? How we understand through the teachings about the Buddha's nature, that he is marvelous and he is powerful in his understanding? What do you study in the teachings? All the years, all the sessions, what were you studying in the suttas? What is the message it has?
To end the suffering.
Yeah. Can you conclude everything to one thing? Like, there is Chulahattipadopama Sutta, that special simile. It said that, you have the footprint of the elephant. Have you seen the footprint of the elephant? It's very, very big footprint. Sutta says that footprint can hold every other being's footprints, whoever in this world, like humans, animals, like who are like cows, bulls, and tigers, lions. Everybody's footprint can be put into the footprint of the elephant. Just the same way, all the teachings can be included into one set, one group. What is it? Four Noble Truths. Very good. Four Noble Truths. So the message in these teachings are to understand the Four Noble Truths. Now, where does this now in different ways, what Buddha taught is the Four Noble Truths. Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths by like verses, by stories, by process, and by suttas, by discussions. In his entire life for 45 years as an enlightened being, what he did was giving us the understanding about the Four Noble Truths. It can be just as two-line verse, but what he is going to give is the Four Noble Truths. He said that in the Dhammapada, you have Four Noble Truths. In a single Dhammapada, like 4-line verse, you have Four Noble Truths. He said that one Dhammapada verse can make 1,000 enlightened beings, which means greater than 1,000, like anyone can be enlightened if they understand Dhammapada verses. Four Noble Truths. It has Four Noble Truths. Now that's the teaching. In all these Buddha's instructions, they are about understanding the Four Noble Truths. Now, where do we have Four Noble Truths? What is the place you have Four Noble Truths? Where can you see the Four Noble Truths? In Mars, in Moon, Jupiter, Neptune, International Space Station? Where is it? Where are the Four Noble Truths?
Dhamma.
Yeah,
In the
not
Dhamma.
only human.
Teachings.
Yeah, us. Let's say us in ourselves. That is we have the Four Noble Truths. That's why
Suffering.
that's why he compared. He said to the monk, no, the deity who was going to outside and finding the end of the world, end of the universe. Buddha said, no, you find that end of the suffering in you. Don't find end of the suffering outside. Yeah. He said, there is in our life, there is the cause for the suffering. There is suffering, there is cause for the suffering, there is end of the suffering, there is way leading to the end of the suffering. Four Noble Truths are here. Now, what is difficult for us to understand? It's very difficult for us to realize, comprehend what is suffering. Yes, second one. It's very hard for us to understand what is the origin of suffering. Very difficult for us to understand what is the end of suffering. Very difficult for us to understand what is the way, the practice leads to end of the suffering. That's why people are confused and try to find external solutions. Okay, there can be a different path, different somewhere else. Reading this book, that book, and speaking with that person, this person, please teach me about the practice. But where is that practice? It's in us. We need to start it. We should execute the Noble Eightfold Path if you want to see an end of suffering. Now, this Bhante said, I understand through this practice, through the teaching, for the extent that I saw the Four Noble Truths, that Buddha is very superior to anyone in the world. Why? Because he truly realized the Four Noble Truths in him. How about ourselves? Are we enlightened now? Not yet. But, for the extent that we practice these teachings, we can develop faith, we can develop trust, we can develop confidence. Because that's the starting point. A stream enterer means the one who start the practice, who entered to the Eightfold Path. That's the stream enterer. What we need is to develop faith on the Buddha. But we can too use the inference to make our mind happy about the Buddha. That will be the power for us to go in this practice. That's the inspiration for us. even by loving kindness meditation, you can develop faith. How? Because when you develop loving kindness meditation, you feel some kind of a love for yourself and love for others. You can use this through your wisdom. Oh, I felt a kind of joy because of my positive thought. If there was a Buddha, the Buddha too had the same love. He had this kind of a love to other beings. You see, this person can use the wisdom to see the Buddha's life. That's the inference from the teaching. You saw the loving kindness correctly. You practice positive thought, and you use that to develop your faith. Oh, if the Buddha were to live in the past, he had this kind of loving kindness. And you look in the future, if there will be a Buddha in the future, he will too have this kind of a positive thought of loving kindness. If there was Buddhas in the previous life, those Buddhas too had this kind of a positive thought. That's what the Buddha's teachings. And impermanence. Impermanent meditation, 5 aggregate meditation, 4 noble truths, whatever we put into practice, we can use the practice to develop our faith on the Buddha. And that's this inference from the teaching means. That's what I wanted to talk, inference from the teaching. Dhamman vayo. Inference about the Dhamma, understanding about the teaching. So we can use the teaching to develop our faith on the Buddha. Now, this Bhante said, oh, because I saw the 4 noble truths in my life, now I can definitely say, as a Lions Rover, that previously or in the future, in this moment, Buddhas were superior. Okay? Let's say there is a person who practiced Buddhism and later this person abandoned Buddhism. Let's say this person completely learned all the suttas and abandoned Buddhism. Why? Not seeing the Buddha through the teachings.
Loss of faith.
Loss of faith. Yeah, what? Yeah, they couldn't develop the trust. But where do we see the trust? Is it outside? You know, sometimes monks disrobe. Monks disrobe and go back to their normal life. Then they start to criticize the organization or start to criticize the other Bhantes, and they say, oh, because of this teaching, because of that teaching, I don't want to live my monk life. But where is the problem? I see the problem is not understand the 4 noble truths. Yeah, it's not because of a problem outside. Yeah. How a person stays in the monk life, or let's say at least that person became enlightened. How did that person become enlightened? Because that person saw 4 noble truths. That's why I say to my friends, now for this much longer that you have understood teachings and you have learned teachings, this is enough for you to develop a greater faith, greater confidence, greater trust. If you handle your understanding, your wisdom correctly, there are many opportunities for us. Doesn't mean that you don't need to study in the future also, but at least not to doubt. At least not to doubt. Sometimes friends are studying a little bit, meditate a little bit, and then abandon that teaching and go somewhere and to find out another solution. Yeah, this is how we were wandering in the samsara too. Our consciousness is like wandering. But what we need to do to solve this is to sit down and try to understand 4 noble truths. Okay? Suppose there was a king's frontier citadel. Do you know what is citadel? Fort. Yeah, fort. Together with the palace, and it was like guarded by a big wall. No one can go in. There are like patrol paths, which means like soldiers are patrolling around this citadel. In the middle, there is the king. Now it says in the sutta, with fortified embankments, ramparts, and arches, and a single gate. A special point here, it says that this has only a single gate. There's only one gate to enter. Every other places are covered by the wall, and in the middle there is a palace. And it has a gatekeeper who is astute, competent, and intelligent. There's a gatekeeper close by the gate. He's very intelligent. He keeps strangers out and lets known people in. He knows who is entering, who is leaving this place. As he walks around the patrol path, he is also going around the patrol path to check that all the wall, and he does not see a hole or cleft in the wall. He can't see anything in any place in the wall that whoever can enter. There's only one place anyone can enter, if anyone want to go in, there's only one place. Now he says that he doesn't see a hole or cleft in the wall, not even one big enough for a cat to sleep out. Even a cat can't go in, which means there is no even such a little. Sometimes cats can like reduce and enter. What? Yeah, like rabbits. Yeah. It said that there's no such place anywhere in this world. Now this man know, because he's very intelligent. He was going everywhere and finding out whoever can go in, I should be very careful to protect my king. He thinks whatever seizable creatures enter or leave the citadel, all of them do so via this gate. If anyone want to go inside, they must use this gate. There's no any other gate, any place. In the same way, I understand this by inference from the teaching. Now he says, this is how I understood. All the perfected ones, fully awakened Buddhas, whether past, future, or present, give up the 5 hindrances. This is the practice, Noble Eightfold Path. 5 hindrances, give up corruptions of the heart that weaken wisdom. Their mind is firmly established in 4 kinds of mindfulness meditation, satipatthana. They correctly develop the 7 awakening factors, saptabodhanga, and they awaken to the supreme perfect awakening. That's the only gate. Who can release from the pain, enter to the enlightenment. Yeah, so he said about his practice. He used his practice. For an example, let's say we develop for Satipatthana-sutta, we develop breathing meditation. So that's how he understood, oh, Buddha is marvelous. Buddha is superior, whether past, future, or present. There is no one who can be equal or compared to the Buddha. Why? Because of his own practice. This is very important, very important point here. Now, when we look at this, we can see that by the practicing this Dhamma, by putting these things into practice, one can definitely awaken, they can reach to the supreme perfect awakening. And the person who is awakened won't be a person who get so much conceit, so much pride, and so much big head. Because sometimes when people meditate, even then when they get very little concentration, they become so pride. Okay, everybody should start to respect me because I'm very good meditator. I can stay this longer, that longer. So this person puff up with his head like, oh, I'm very powerful person. But if that person correctly understood the teachings, that person should be very humble, very gentle, who knows about the Buddha, who uh, prays to the Buddha. You see, the Sariputta Bhante was very powerful in the wisdom. He know his life. He know the Four Noble Truths. But he is not like telling, Buddha, so thank you. You helped me. But set aside. I will do the rest. I now will start my teachings. He never thought that. He never thought that. He said, oh, I won't see anyone like you. I won't see anyone like you whenever in this journey of samsara, even in the future, a fully awakened Buddha who is equal to this wisdom. Okay? So do you wish to, like in the next week, we can, if you like, we can study in this part in details, or we can continue to the other part of the sutta? You can let me know. And while he's staying at Nalanda too, the Buddha often gave this Dhamma talk to the mendicants. Such is ethics, such is immersion, so on. The same part. Okay? That's the teaching for us today. So at the end, please remember that whatever the meditation I do, whatever the practice I do, I will use this to develop my faith on the Buddha, faith on the Dhamma, faith on the Sangha. Probably we won't be able to enlighten in this very life, who knows? But if we die without any attainments, still we are putting the seed in us. At one time, at one point in samsara, I will be awakened. Our teacher Bhante taught us like that. He said, in this life, what you do is that you put the seed in you at some point to be enlightened. Can be this very life, it can be somewhere in samsara, but what you need is this seed to grow in you. That's what protects you. One day a person asked me, oh, because we meditated in the previous life, that's why, Bhante, that we come to meditations in this very life also. What do you think? What do you think? Yeah, in a way, that's true. That's true. That's correct. But I said something for him to think. I said, actually, for me, it was the inspiration that I received by seeing the Buddha, seeing my teacher Bhante, or seeing the other Bhantes, seeing the Bodhi tree, seeing the Buddha statue, that I started meditating. I said it was faith. It was not meditation. I said it was my faith that I started meditating. So in this very life, I see the faith is what helped me to come to the meditations. If we develop this faith, we won't be lost. Even in the next life, we see someone. We see a noble friend. A noble friend gave us the teaching of the Buddha. And then we start with that faith. You know Anathapindika. Anathapindika went to the city for some business. One of her friends come to him and he said, in this close by city, in this place, in the monastery, there is a Buddha. Anathapindika was the foremost among the lay devotees. He carried so much power in him, like so much faith in him. So this man, the friend said, Buddha is in the monastery. He just heard this word, the Buddha. And he said that he got goosebumps. His body has so much happy feelings in the body, goosebumps. Then the Anathapindika asked, what did you say? Did you say Buddha? And then the friend said, yeah, I said Buddha. Oh, did you say Buddha? And he said, yes, I said Buddha 3 times. It's popular in Buddhism, 3 times, everything 3 times. So he asked, 3 times? Buddha? Are you saying about Buddha? So he said, yeah, I'm saying about Buddha. Are you truly saying about Buddha? Yes, I'm saying about Buddha. Just heard the Buddha word. Then he went to sleep. He can't sleep. Why? Because he remembers about the Buddha. Oh, there is a Buddha being born in this world. A Buddha is living. I am in the time of a Buddha. I don't know how this information came to him, but he was like thinking over and over again, oh, if the Buddha were to live in this world, it's amazing. And he is still alive. So happy. He said that he went to sleep and he had a urge to see the Buddha. He thought, oh, I should go to see the Buddha, but I can't wait up until tomorrow. I will go right now. So he started to walk to see the Buddha in the middle of the night because he wanted to see the Buddha. He entered to the temple and Buddha was sitting on his seat and Buddha saw the Anathapindika. What did the Buddha say? Yeah, Buddha said, come here, Sudatta. How did the Buddha know? Like he already knew this person's name. Come, Sudatta. And he became more happy, very happy. And he went to the Buddha and bowed down and started to say his name and cried in front of the Buddha and touched the Buddha's feet. And he started to show devotion to the Buddha over and over again. What is that? What is that power? That's the faith. So the faith helped him to come to the Dhamma. Later he became a stream mentor, and then I think they are now already enlightened and they are no more. That's what I think. I don't know, but it was like 2000 years ago. Maybe they are in the heavenly realm, or maybe they already enlightened. But it was the faith, right? So the faith is what draws a person. Faith is what draws the person. Sometimes we think because of our power of self, our self-view, that is taking us forward in the practice. No. We normally think, well, it can be okay with the other things, external things. Sometimes people think, yes, I can do this. I will do this. I will pass the exam. I will pass the test. So they take the pride, they take the self-view, they take the maybe conceit to practice the test and then pass the test. They develop confidence over them to pass the exam, pass the test. But Buddhism is different. It depends on the extent that you develop your confidence on the Buddha, on the Dhamma, and on the Sangha that you move forward. Why? Because we are seeing that our challenge when we are going to understand the Dhamma is coming from ourselves. We sit down to meditate, we start to doubt, is this correct? We're doubting ourselves. So it's because of the self-view. We catch everything in self-view. But in the teachings, the stream mentorer is the one who starts developing the Eightfold Path. The stream mentorer means unwavering confidence on the Buddha. So that's why whatever the opportunities that you get, try your best to develop the confidence. You won't be lost anywhere in the samsara. Someone would tell you, Buddha is born. Will you get happy feelings? Let's say in the future, you are a businessman or businesswoman, you go somewhere. And in the city, someone brings you the news, there's Buddha living. Will there going to be any other happiness than that? Like you hear, oh, Buddha. Yes. So it's the faith. Yes. It's through the spiritual faculties. It's because of the conditions. The practice itself is inside the conditions. There is the rebirth, but what there is no empty is the self. Is the soul that is transmigrating one life to another. But still there are conditions that is transmigrating, like the five khandhas. I mean, even in this way, in this life, in this place, in this moment, we have conditions. We have understanding. We are developing that understanding. Doesn't mean that we have soul or self in this moment. It's just bringing up the conditions that we develop understanding. If there was a self, I remember within the questions, it says that the king asked the enlightened Bhante about the self view and the soul view, and this enlightened Bhante says, how many sights can you see in front of you? Can you see all the sights in front of you, or one sight at a time? Then the Bhante says, why you can't do that? It's because it is conditions. It's not because, like, don't we like to recognize every happy sights here? Let's say there are 100 food plates, variety of foods, 100 plates in front of us. But what is the desire in the consciousness? To look at all the 100 plates at once and enjoy all the happinesses it has. But can we do that? No, one plate at a time. Like, that's how we interact, if you get this. I mean, let's say the tasting, like, can we taste all the 100 plates at once? No, we can enjoy one food at a time. But if there was a self, the enlightened Bhante says that you can reduce or increase, or you can control these. You should be able to take all the happinesses. And it should not be limited. That's what this enlightened Bhante says. If there was a soul, the happy feelings in our cells should not be limited. But we are limited. Limited to the eye. Limited to the distance that we see. Can we put our eye to somewhere that we wish in very far and see those things? So the self-authority has a kind of should have such a kind of power to enjoy everything, but it's not, it's limited. Yeah, sorry if you don't get this, but that's what the enlightened Bhante said. Yeah, even in this moment we live, is not because that we are possessing a kind of a self-authority, but because the conditions come to the scene and conditions are playing. If there was such a thing like a self-power in us, we don't need to meditate. We don't need to develop these practices, ethics, concentrations, wisdoms. We don't need those things. Why? Because we just take the wisdom inside. Okay, now I'm enlightened. No. You see how hard it is to meditate, to develop wisdom? In this moment, you possess a kind of understanding. It's because you listened. It's because you think. Yeah. Okay, next week we talk about the drawbacks of unethical conduct. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's share the merits with all the devas. May all the devas rejoice in our merits. By the power of these merits, may all the devas be able to attain the perfect bliss of their mind. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And may all the departed relatives rejoice in our merits. By the power of these merits, may all the departed relatives be able to escape from samsara. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. My teacher Bhante and all the other Bhantes rejoices in these merits, and may all the Bhantes be able to attain the Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And everyone who joined with this discussion also rejoice in these merits, and by the power of this merit, may every one of you live long, be healthy, and be happy, and be protected. And may you soon be able to attain the perfect bliss of your mind, Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, friends. Thank you so much for joining with me. May you be well and happy.